That's what we're talking about.
Hopefully, no right errors happen. I'll be mindful of looking at the little screen here.
So far, so good.
Thanks, Xack, for coming to the Punchcast. I don't usually look at the guest because I have autism, and I think I have some. I'm just kidding. I don't have autism, but I'm just uncomfortable looking at people all the time, especially when I'm high and drinking, which I'm not. Sponsors, but sometimes I just avoid people when I look at them through there.
That's
So
cool.
don't be weirded out if I don't look at you in the dick.
That's cool. I'll look at you both places. I'll just keep doing this all show.
But for people who don't know, this is my good friend Xack Fisher.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks
Glad
for
to be
coming.
here.
Thanks for he's also going to be the photographer for my wedding. So this
Super looking forward to that.
It's going to be interesting, man. I'm kind of nervous and anxious about it.
Yeah. Well, what's it like approaching, marriage, man? How you feeling?
I'm not worried about the marriage part of
Okay.
like marrying my partner that I love.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about our families meeting and like interacting.
Oh, this is the first time that. Yeah.
She has
Interesting.
like my family, my parents. I met her parents, but that's it. I have a huge family though. I have like, right now we've invited 160 people to the wedding. We're expecting like 150 to go, and like 100 of them are just my family.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That sounds fun. Those family reunions must be a blast.
You're gonna be there taking pictures, so you have to be the one that like captures the moment of like some interaction between two families getting along. Hopefully,
I'm so excited about that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna get some beautiful shots, man. We gotta have a meeting sometime, lay out all the logistics, but it's gonna be fucking fun, man.
Yeah, man. We'll set that up. If you're watching this and you didn't know that I was getting married, it's because you're not invited. Don't ask either, because that's rude. It's more rude not to get invited to a thing than it is to ask if you're invited to the thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And the people who are gonna crash it, like they know who they are.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is the people who crash it, there's gonna be people who crash it that like I'm gonna let them crash it, and there's the people who crash it that I'm gonna be like, you can't crash it. But I don't think the people who are gonna crash it and not be allowed to stay will crash it.
Yeah.
But I think there will be some people who crash it and they're like, really, you're gonna kick me out? Like, no.
Yeah, no, there's certain people that like if they show up, you're like, yeah, you're cool.
You son of a bitch, come here.
Yeah, exactly.
How you been? How's grandma? Dead for 40 years. You have any grandparents?
I got grandparents. I just went and spent my family with my grandma, who's kind of getting like up there, and she's kind of on a loop with a lot of things. Like she'll ask the same questions over and over again, and like she'll ask very funny questions. So like we put out like a jigsaw puzzle so that we could all like do something with her, because that's one of the things that she can still really do. We're doing this jigsaw puzzle, and then I had to leave, and I'm like driving back up to Seattle, and she's like, do you want to take the jigsaw puzzle with you? It's like half finished. I'm like, I don't think this is going to transport the way you think it will.
You just have to lie to them.
Grandma.
Like your grandmother, you have to be like, yeah, grandma, of course, I'm going to treasure this forever, and throw in the trash outside the house. Just don't let her see it.
Like she wanted to finish the puzzle. We were really just doing it to like be there with her, like give something to do with her, but she thought we were the ones that really cared about the puzzle.
You know what's funny? That happens a lot, I feel like, with a lot of family stuff. I forgot who I was with recently, and the same thing where it was like, you hang out with them and you like show interest in a thing because you're being polite and you want to hang out with them, and then they realize they're like, Zach's a fucking weirdo about puzzles. He just shows up in the middle of the day with a fucking puzzle, and he's like, let's do this 3,000 piece puzzle, grandma. So I just want to smoke weed and watch fucking Family Guy. I feel like that's what most grandmothers should be doing. But that's good, man. I used to have a grandmother that's alive, so do many puzzles with her and pretend to care about it. What does she care about?
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. So she was part of the cult that I grew up in. I've told you about the cult. The viewers don't know. I kind of grew up in a cult, and my family, like my mom and my stepdad, they left the cult when I was like 11 years old or so.
Interesting.
But my grandma stayed in the cult, and she was like, I think they were in like a relationship, but I don't really know, with the cult leader.
Of course, that's what a cult leader does.
Yeah, and so she like lived up on this dirt hill with him for like a long time, and like my parents were like cult outcasts, because when you leave the cult, they have to like shun you and stuff. So like there was this whole weird tension until the cult leader died, and then my grandma inherited like all this cult money.
Oh, what?
Yeah, and so
Ugh.
now she's like free, and like she sends me birthday money, and I'm like, this is like my
Dude.
blood money from the
Hey,
cult.
yo, Gamma, no, that's Gamma's hard work right there.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
wouldn't work for that for that money. She wasn't doing it directly. It paid off. Her faith paid off.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, what's she into? Well, cult stuff, you know?
Yeah, man. I feel like, I don't know, cults are interesting because I feel like at some point they get big enough where they're no longer a cult. You know, I feel like most cults don't blow up. That's why they're cults. But once they blow up, it's fucking, I don't know, democracy or something.
Once you get that Netflix, it's like comedy. You
That's
gotta
what I'm
get
saying,
that
yeah,
Netflix
exactly. Like,
special.
once you get a sponsor, it's like, this ain't so bad anymore.
I like when I tell people that I grew up in a cult, sometimes they're like really into cults because it's like the hot thing. There's all the documentaries and stuff. And so like I've had people be like, oh yeah, which cult? And I'm like, you're not going to know it. And they're like, no, I really know my cults. And it's like, I'm like, this is what it's called. And they're like, no, I've never heard of that one. I'm like, I fucking told you. Like, you don't know all the cults. There's a lot of cults out there.
Doing a thesis, I'm very specific. I feel like Western Oregon is a big cult place, or Oregon in general, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The Wild Wild West stuff. If you ever saw that one, that all happened down in Oregon.
That's the one.
Big old commune.
That's the one. Did they have the militia? Which one had the militia?
Yeah, they had a militia. I mean, they were one of them. They all the cults eventually start having militias.
If you get big enough, you get sponsored by Boeing, you can get some F-16s later. That'd be cool. Although I think Lockheed Martin makes all the military shit.
I think they both have a hand in it. I don't really know.
Boeing makes like naval shit or like space shit.
I think they make weapons too. I remember watching like one of those, documentaries like fucking Inside Job or like one of those like ones about the military industrial complex or something like years ago before I moved to Washington. And they're like, Boeing is one of the evil like military industrial complex companies. And then I moved to Seattle and Boeing's everywhere. And it's like, oh shit.
They're a major fucking employer of people in this country, sir. To the reason this economy is the top 20 in the nation. I feel like America's what, top 1, 2? What's the GDP here?
Couldn't tell you.
I feel like America has to be number 1, right? California's probably like number 3.
That's our slogan. Independence Day was yesterday. America's number 1. The math checks out.
I feel like it still is. That's the thing. I know we're on a downward slide here, but so is everybody else, and we're still on top. It's like when you do a shitty room and everybody bombs, but you were like, mine was actually kind of good. Like, yeah, people weren't actively booing or chatting loudly. They were at least paying attention.
And everyone else is like, fuck this place. This crowd sucks.
Exactly.
And you're like, I kind of liked them. Yeah, they weren't that bad.
What's your stance on embracing the bomb?
Embracing the bomb. It's tough. For me, like, the bomb is more about, like, losing my own composure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, like, if I start to, like, feel uncomfortable and get nervous and start sweating up there and forget what I'm talking about, like, that's what really bothers me. That's what I feel like is a bomb. Versus I can have sets where I don't get laughs, but I stay cool the whole time, and, like, I still feel like I'm in control of the narrative. I'm still working on what I want to work on. Like, that stuff, I don't mind.
Okay.
But, like, when I feel the bomb and, like, it gets to me, that's where I'm like, fuck,
Yeah, I've always been against embracing the bomb. I'm like, don't acknowledge it. But you're right. Once you start forgetting shit and you're up there fucking running danger feeling it and you're just like fucking sweating profusely, then yeah, I feel like you're bombing and you're not even being like you're negatively being affected by it. And it's like it's just detrimental to everybody now.
Yeah, I feel like when I was first starting, like I was so afraid of the bombs that when it started to happen, like the first sign of a bomb, like the one joke doesn't land, and it's like, oh fuck, it's all downhill from here,
Yeah, that's the worst.
But like now, it's like when I don't get a laugh, I'm kind of ready for it. Like even my jokes that I know work, when they don't hit, it's like, okay, move on to the next thing. Well, we'll win them over with the next thing. It doesn't quite like hit me the same as it used to.
Well, that's what I think the move is, right? Is being able to like relate your shit in that moment to those people. So like if you're bombing and like, all right, that joke that usually does well didn't do well, you have to assume your other one is still gonna do well, but now you have to say it in a way that they're gonna understand it more. Or like, I don't know, I do like that craft part of it, that live performance part that like nobody. I forgot who I was telling that I was like, I don't know why. I forgot who was it. Maybe somebody I think at Club Comedy, and I was saying how like I would put my old videos or my old audio only recordings over the puppet, and I was like, what I should start doing is start recording just sets in general and dubbing it over for any video, And they're like, no, man, you can't do that. Like, that's lying. It's not like that moment. And I was like, yeah, that's true. Like, when people pipe in some, like laughter, like, how do you feel about rigging the audience?
You know, I feel like it's complicated, especially because I film a lot of people's sets, too. And so, like, there are times when I will film somebody's set, and they'll come back to me and be like, I know there was more laughter than this, you know? Like, you were in the room. You know that more people were laughing, and I'm like, well, the mic didn't pick up more than it, so, like, that's what you, this is what.
I didn't mic up all the mice in the fucking kitchen, too. I'm sure they were squeaking for you.
Exactly. So, like, personally, like, as a comic, when I'm up there, because I've had that experience with my own tapes, too, where, like, I go up there, and I felt like I fucking killed it. I'm like, that was one of the best sets. I finally got the tape I wanted, and then I look back, and it's like, okay, that was actually a couple people laughing. Like, this isn't that booming laugh that you want on a tape.
Wow.
And so, like, for me, I look at that and I'm like, this is a challenge. Like, I don't really want to have a tape out there until I genuinely get those laughs, you know, because that's when I feel like that's the performance I want people to see.
Interesting.
But I also get the thing of, like, if you're trying to get booked and you just, all you have is this tape with kind of shitty laughs and you just want an opportunity to get a better tape, like, do I really hold it against somebody if they, like, enhance the laughter to get booked so they can, like, have that chance? Like, I don't know. It's a ruthless world out there. People do what they got to do.
It is. And I will say, too, that people who get booked don't get booked because they're necessarily funnier and they've had a lot of laughs and shit they've recorded in the past, you know? Sometimes I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I'm a hater, bro, but sometimes I'll be seeing the people who are getting booked and I'm just like, this guy? Really? Over me? Or now a thing that's happening, I guess this is just, you know, jealousy for sure. Whereas, like, now that I am getting some spots, I'm like, why now are you giving me the, like, since the beginning I stepped on that stage, you should have known. But I don't know. I feel like sometimes the hard work does pay off, and it's just not even that you're getting, like, funnier, but it's just that now people are seeing the effort, and they're like, oh, he must be doing better because he's at least trying more.
Yeah, well, and I think it's easy, like, as a comic, like, you're watching every performance that you do yourself, you know? So, like, you see your own progress, and you're like, why aren't people fucking recognizing this or whatever? But then you realize, like, oh, this person hasn't actually seen me perform for, like, a year since, like, it was not what it is today, you know? And, like, I'm somehow still expecting them to have this most recent version of my set as their perception of me. But, like,
yeah, that's a good point.
Until they see it, like, you don't know what people actually think, you know?
Which is why I want to kind of delete my Instagram. I want to not have an Instagram again because I feel like now people that watch stuff on there have this different expectation of what it really is. Where it's like if you're recording a spot at, like, a set at, I don't know, insert open mic bar, and it's like, well, yeah, that was really funny. I saw you doing stand up, and they expect you to be this comedian, and then later on, you're like, wait, you're doing comedy here? This place is like, and you're like, I know, right? But I tricked you, haha. You saw on my Instagram, those captions were real. I don't know, so I feel like I want to delete it so I don't give people the wrong impression of me, because I feel like it's happening a lot now where it's like, hey, you're that guy, and I'm like, no, I fucking still have a day job. That's the thing that gets me all the time. We're like, wait, you have, like, a real job? I'm like, yeah, man.
Yeah, that's something that I think is, like, there's that thing, because, like, with comedy, you want to be, like, honest, you know? You always want to, like, even if you're embellishing for a joke, you want the core of, like, what you're saying to feel true to you, you know, and true to your character. And when, like, you are working another job, like, I've had people, bookers, tell me, like, don't talk about your current job like it's a current job. They want to see a stand-up comic.
They want to know that you don't have a day job anymore.
Yeah, and so there is, like, that whole, like, perception thing. You got to paint with Instagram and all that.
Yeah, I hate that shit.
And then, like, the thing I get caught up, I don't post very much to my social media, like, reels or any, like, jokes or anything. And, like, for me, it's that thing of, like, oh, I want to make sure when I do, it's going to be good. But then I'm, like, looking back, I'm like, oh, I should have just posted shit so people could see the progress, you know? Because, like,
yeah, dude.
It's like, here I am a year later, and it's like, okay, now, yeah, maybe I have that same joke that I did a year ago. I could have posted it then, but, like, for some reason I was intimidated.
I will say, record your shit so people don't steal your shit.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that I really do feel like I need to, and not even just record it, but, like publicize it. Because it happens a lot, man. I'm not sure how much of it is parallel thinking. I'm not sure, like, has that happened to you? Have you had somebody be like,
Not yet, but I get nervous about it sometimes.
Bro,
like,
it happens all the time.
Yeah. Have you had it happen?
Multiple times with multiple comedians. Like,
local people?
Yeah, local people, and it's more and more and more every time.
Really?
Which I started to take it as, like, a compliment of, like, yeah, of course, because I got there first, you know? And
yeah.
like, you can have it because it's parallel thinking and it's hack anyway, because now if you're thinking about it too, you know. But I think about it all the time.
Yeah, it really like depends. Like if it's like somebody, I mean, I haven't really. The one example I can think of is there was a bit I tried like one time near the very beginning of doing open mics that didn't really work for me, and I tossed it out. And I saw somebody else do that bit, and it wasn't like I thought they stole it from me, but it was kind of like that reassures me like this joke wasn't original enough for me to keep like doing it. It kind of reassured me like, yeah, I was okay to toss that one because like it wasn't really all that special after all, you know?
That's usually what happens. I feel like most of the time. So there's been 2 instances. There's been one instance where I had a conversation with a comic, and I was like, he stole my joke, and they were like, no, I don't think I did, and you know, I thought about this before, and I was like, when did you think about it? And then I was like,
wait, so you confronted them? You were,
so,
you were like, hey, that's my joke.
Them, like literally right after they finished it, and I think I even did it that same day, like right before them. And I was like, I did it right before you, and they were like, no, I didn't even see you. And I was like, look, either way, I realize now that it's a hack premise, and it's like everybody's thinking about it clearly. So how about this? If you really like that joke and you think it's a great joke, then you should only do it if it's before me. And I'll do the same, which now sometimes I'll see them and I'm going to do this joke just so they can fucking eat shit when they do the same joke that I just did like 4 spots earlier. And then I realized that it didn't defer them from not doing it. And not only that, both of us got laughs.
Oh.
And like that's what I'm saying. Like there's nobody out there be like, wait a minute, that's a punch joke.
I mean, I've seen the opposite though. I have seen where like, in the case I'm thinking of specifically, I don't think it was someone ripping off the other person at all. It was definitely like, this first person didn't see the other person go up,
and they did,
and they had a very similar premise. The execution was slightly different, but the joke was mostly the same. And the first person who did it got a huge reaction, and that second person who did it barely got any reaction. They didn't know why because they weren't in there for that first person. Yeah. So they're like, "This felt like a solid joke. What happened?" But like the audience just thought he stole it. Yeah,
somebody else did it before you 5 minutes ago, guy. That's what I'm saying, right? So, like, that's why I think record and publicize all your stuff so that you can see, like, nope, I had it first, and here's the proof, so I don't have to stop doing it.
That's a good point.
You know? But also, yeah, if it's a hack premise, man, I've been watching a lot of stand-up recently. How much do you watch a lot of stand-up?
Here and there. I haven't watched a whole lot since I've been doing it, to be honest. I've rewatched some, and, like, some classics that I loved, but I watched a ton before I was doing stand-up. I was, like, a fan for years and years. And then, like, now I think it's a little bit of fear of, like, I don't want to be derivative of any of those guys, you know? So it's like I don't want to spend too much time focusing on other people's work. But I have rewatched some. I just had my sister in town. I was trying to show her John Mulaney because I'm like, I want to expose you to some good stand-up. She was not into John Mulaney.
John Mulaney, I feel like he's always been good as a whole. Like, he has great, by which I mean that, like, as a writer, as a performer, as a joke writer, as a comedian, he's great. All those things are great. But I will say a lot of the times I feel like I can't get past the, like the voice sometimes, or, like, I don't know. To me, he's
almost got, like, that old school radio voice.
Yeah, he sounds like, what's his name?
Fellas.
Yeah, what's the name of the guy from the Producers? There's 2 of them. What's the other one? He's the fat guy.
I don't know.
He's
Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's either Matthew Broderick or Nathan Lane.
Yeah.
But he sounds like one of them. Like, hey, it's very, like, transatlantic.
Definitely.
And it's like, yeah, you're saying funny things with that funny voice, and that's funny. But also, like, I don't know. I feel like his best joke, what was the one about the Ice-T one? He's like, really, Ice-T, you've never seen a sexual crime before, really? This is your job. Or it's like, okay, that's funny. But I never thought, like, if I were to put him against others, I feel like that pales in comparison to, like, a joke where, like, Dave Chappelle, like, hey, baby, why are you on the street? Remember that joke?
Which one's that?
That's the one from Killing Them Softly, I think, where he's talking about, like, being scared about growing up in D.C. He's like, one time there was a baby on the corner.
Baby on the corner.
Yeah.
I remember the baby.
He's like, hey, baby, what are you doing out here? He's like, shut the fuck up. Get out of here, man. You're blowing up my sales or something. But anyways, that's the shit now that I think about when it comes to comedy of, like, what do I want to listen to? Like, John Mulaney is great. Absolutely. He was just on a bunch of shit that I watched. He was just on, I think, Dave. He was just on... what's the other one with the other comedian?
Crashing? I know he's on Crashing.
No, don't Pete Davidson on Peacock.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, only like the first episode.
It's weird. I don't know if it's good or bad yet.
Bumpkiss? Is that what it is?
Bupkis. Joe Pesci's on it. It's just like a very David or a Pete Davidson show where it's like I'm successful and funny and get all the girls, but I'm still.
It really
sad.
seemed like they were ramping the Pete Davidson up to 200 on that.
Like, exactly. It was like, but I'm sad and I don't know why, and I'm addicted to drugs, and I'm around so many people, but I'm so alone, which I love. Honestly, that's why I relate to it and I watch it all the time. He was on that as well, John Mulaney. But who else? What else was he just on that I was like, oh, The Bear. You watched The Bear?
Oh, is he on The Bear?
Yeah, no spoilers.
Shit. I've been watching the new season, but I haven't gotten that far yet.
You're gonna get to him soon. In the new season.
That's a treat.
It's so good.
That's
what
cool.
do you think of the second season?
I've loved it so far.
So far, so good. Have you got to the one, the one with the family dinner?
I don't think so. We've watched 2 or 3. Yeah, no.
That episode is so like it's like Uncut Gem style of just anxiety. These like one shot fucking anxiety after anxiety moment, just like
Oh yeah, I can't wait to check it out, man. I've been
so
loving
good.
that show.
No spoilers for sure, but yeah, John Mulaney's on it. Spoiler, I guess that's the only spoiler.
You want to hear a trippy story related to The Bear?
Yeah.
So I was watching The Bear, and there's the end of this one song that, or one episode, they have the song playing at the end of the episode. That's like a Van Morrison song. Mm-hmm. And it comes on the episode, and I'm like, this sounds so familiar. You know, this song is like just jumping out at me. And so like I look it up, and I start like playing the radio to it, and it leads me to this other Van Morrison song called And It Stoned Me. Do you know that song?
Mm-mm.
Good song. It's all about fucking life being so good that it stones you, you know?
So yeah.
And I'm listening to this song, I'm like, this is like bringing up such like big nostalgia. Like my mom was definitely playing the song when I was growing up kind of thing. And I like play the radio for that, right? On like the algorithms or whatever. And they pop up this Grateful Dead cover of that song, a live recording that was recorded where I was born.
Oh shit. You have a joke about it, right?
8 to 9 months before I was born. And that was the concert where my mom went and then settled down.
So you think you were conceived
I found like my birth song. Yeah, through The Bear. I rediscovered my birth song.
And that's what makes the show great, right? When they're starting to fucking get these like reactions out of you, like, wait, what?
Yeah.
This song that like I was in the mood to apparently take in this moment turns out to be this like bigger piece. Probably I'm sure your mom.
She definitely knew the song for sure, but like for me, it was this whole rediscover process. That's like, oh man, this rabbit hole keeps going. I will say
your mom was probably in that like. I think that is cool to be like, this is that mindset of this song that kind of captures how your mom is feeling at this time that created you, man.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah. It was cool shit. Yeah, it was trippy.
Dude, what's the name of the song again?
And It Stoned Me by Van Morrison. Yeah, look that shit up. It's a good chill summer song.
The Bear. I feel like I'm constantly looking up things.
But the song that was in The Bear was St. Dominic's Preview. Different song, same artist. That's the song that got me down that rabbit hole.
Gotcha.
But it was a whole discovery process. It was fucking cool.
Yeah, like I said, I'm always looking up songs in that show. I want to go to Chicago now and do like the Taste of Chicago. I just want to eat all the places. They should do a taste of everything, everywhere, all at once.
I went to Chicago once back in 2008 for Lollapalooza.
Oh, well, that sounds so.
It was my first time like going on a trip without my parents. Me and one other friend. We stayed in an Airbnb in downtown Chicago. Probably like 17.
Okay.
And we stayed at this Airbnb in Chicago. And the night before we were supposed to leave, before the festival ended, before our rental ended, the guy who was renting out the Airbnb showed up with like 2 girls, like back at his apartment that he was renting to us. And he's like, do you mind if we just like hang out here? And we're like, I guess not. And so we just ended up like spending our last night there with this guy who was like clearly trying to work towards a threesome. And we're just like, these 17-year-old kids can't even drink yet. Like, whoa, this is a trip.
This is what life's going to be like as adults.
Exactly.
The future is
I told my mom, like, yeah, the Airbnb you rented for us, the guy just came back. She was so pissed.
Son of a bitch. I mean, honestly, that's the whole point of the Airbnb, right? It's like, it says here you're not going to be there from this time to this time.
Yeah, it was a fucking trip. It was a cool-ass place, though.
And then I got to feed a cat.
Yeah.
That's the thing in The Bear, too.
Yeah. Good-ass show.
Do you think about that? Like, there's stuff that people come up with sometimes that I think you see in, like, other things. Or I'm like, that's clearly a joke from The Office. Where it's like, it's not necessarily a stand-up joke and like, you know, guy on stage performing it, but it's literally a joke that you saw on this TV show.
I have definitely seen stuff like that.
Where it's like, that's why I don't understand sometimes with people. I'm like, That's why I don't stay in the room a lot. Well, I hate staying in the room. I always leave only because I feel like people don't give it the same amount of respect. Where it's like, bro, like I've been here. I hate when people are like, keep doing your jokes, even though it's the same 5 comedians that you did open mics with. Like, no, do different jokes to those guys.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
you got to use those rooms to play around.
Like, stop being like, no, I don't care who's seen this. I'm gonna keep doing it. No, stop doing that. Tell that guy a new joke. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, man, there's a comic, not to name names, there's a comic in the scene who has a joke. And this comic has a bunch of really good fucking material, like original, clever stuff that, like, they're a fucking good comic. Mm-hmm. But they have one joke that is definitely, like, a line from a popular song.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it always works. Right. Every audience laughs at it. But every time I'm like, this is a very popular song. Like, it's just surprising to me that stuff works. But sometimes it really plays.
That's how I feel about laugh sometimes. The visceral reaction, not the club. What would you say laughing is? But anyways, when people laugh sometimes, I'm like, they're not laughing because that was necessarily a funny joke. They're laughing because they're uncomfortable. Usually it's the first thing. They're laughing because they just kind of want to do something because everybody, right? Like, there's a lot of times where, like, just because you laugh does not mean that was funny. Like, how many times do you fake laugh for somebody that's on stage?
I definitely have. I mean, I'm not a big laugher. I'm a terrible audience member. Between, like, being a comic and doing video stuff, I've, like, trained myself.
No, I'm a great audience member. I'm always, like, laughing, slapping knees for them, but, like, I'm like, that just sucked, and I hate you, but I don't want to make you feel bad, so.
I hate the situations where I'm put into where it's only comics in the room, so you, like, have to pay attention, and you have to be the audience members for the other comics. That stuff, like there's comics I like to see. But also, like, I want a real audience, you know?
How do you feel when people say, but I feel like a real audience is fake. You know what I mean?
Think so?
Yeah, I think when people do a club, once you do a club, you're going to do well regardless of how shitty your joke is. And it happens all the time. I feel like, you want to know if it's a good joke? Go do that shit at Rest in Peace Joe's Bar and Grill. That place, I remember one time, I used to eat shit there all the time. But this one time, the fucking guy at the bar, I forgot his name. They call him Uncle something. He bought me drinks all night because he was, like, laughing and he was having a good time. And I remember the bartender had to tell him to shut up because he kept, like, responding, but, like, in a positive way. He was like, yeah! And he was, like, walking on stage, and the bartender was like, sit the fuck down, Uncle something. He was, like, a Native American guy. I think he was also a veteran because he always used to wear that Marine hat from, like, the one that has, like, your date on there. It's like 1981, Marines, whatever. And he would just go there, sit at the bar, and drink, and hate the comedy because he was just there to fucking drown his sorrows. And these asshole comedians came and, like, were telling terrible jokes. So that one time that I made him laugh, that he was like, I'm going to buy that guy drinks. I'm like, this guy thought I was funny because that was actually funny what I said. The fact that I got this guy to look up from his fucking fentanyl overdose and be like, what is he saying? Like, that's a great joke.
I feel like it also depends on the type of joke, though, because what I find is that in those types of environments, I have certain jokes that work well in those environments, but, like, a lot of it's usually, like, the attention getters or, like, something that's, like, a little more on the crude side, so it, like, gets people to pay attention. But, like, if I'm in a club, I can work through, like, the more complex jokes, or, like, they'll stick with me. If I have, like, a more high concept joke, they'll follow you through to the end of that joke. Versus, like, a bar crowd, if it gets too wordy or too, like, abstract, you're losing them. Like, you have to stay direct. You have to stay kind of with, like, the quick and easy stuff. So I feel like it works different muscles.
That's a good point. Because that's something I feel like most of my jokes are written as, like, a quick actual joke. I used to have this thing of, like, I want to give my jokes to a kid who just learned to read and he can read well enough to, like, read these jokes, and, like, fuck timing, fuck the audience, fuck, you know, like, if this kid read these jokes to a person, would that person laugh? And I always thought that was, like, the foundation of, like, what you're supposed to do as a comedian is tell jokes.
That's definitely true. Like, right? a good joke will make you laugh when it's written.
Yeah.
No matter what the delivery is. If you see it written, you'll laugh because if it's a good joke.
To your point, it was like there is a lot of times where, like, you have to concise those jokes and, like, make it less wordy or whatever because the guy at the bar is drunk, so you're just kind of spitting off these, like, one-liners or jokes. Whereas, like, if you are at a club, people are there, they're eating dinner, they're, like, having a couple of drinks, it's a whole night for them. You can slow down and, like, you know, get them into a joke that's a little bit, whatever, longer, or like it's more of a story.
Yeah, like I like to do like storytelling stuff, and like you can't do that in a bar.
Yeah,
like you'll lose them immediately.
Yeah.
But like in a club, you can actually kind of like take them down a road and then get to something at the end of that.
Call.
You know?
That's a good point.
That's what I really like about those nice rooms versus the bars. Like there is something about working that muscle and being able to win over that person. And when you see somebody kill in a room like Joe's, where it's like the audience is against you, and you see that whole room light up by the end of it, like those are some of the best sets you'll ever see.
Sure.
But for me, I haven't had that experience.
No, and even then, like if you do have an experience like that at Joe's, that doesn't necessarily transfer to a club.
Yeah.
Right. Like your whatever your tone was that day at this like dive bar is not the same tone at this like, weekend at a big club that's like sold out. So but that's another part of the craft too that people don't seem to like. That's the thing about I think when it comes to performing, one thing that I learned, I feel like actually like doing like acting and stuff is like there's so many different tasks that you must do well and be mindful of and like be conscious of in order for all of it to go well. You know what I mean? Like you can't just be like, oh, I'm going to just work on a good joke tonight. It's like, yeah, you got to have a good joke. You got to have good posture. You got to have good, articulation and diction, and you have to be able to like, actually project your voice. You actually have to be able to engage the audience. And like, there's so many different things that you have to like be on top of that. Like, if one of those things are off, then like it's gonna fucking throw it away.
100%. Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Have you ever had like a joke or a premise that you're like there's like, or do you have an example of one? I'm sure you've ever had one, but do you have an example of like a joke that you really want to work, but you just haven't figured out how to make it work yet?
Yeah.
Like you're like, this is funny, or there's something here.
Yeah.
I want to tell this story, but they're not fucking with it, and I can't figure out how to make them like it.
One in particular I have and I can think of right now, but I will say those jokes are usually the funniest jokes you have. You just haven't found the way to tell it.
Yeah.
I say stick with it. I have one about like sodomy. How did sodomy become illegal? But COVID kind of helped that joke a little bit because I saw a bunch of stuff that like became illegal because like you exhausted your resources. So then I realized that was one of the reasons that they made sodomy illegal in like Sodom and Gomorrah. Because I'm sure the like emergency rooms in like ancient whatever Mesopotamia or Sodom and Gomorrah were like slammed. There was no more beds because a bunch of dudes keep coming in with their assholes torn, and they're like, "That's it, enough of this shit. Like we're wasting all of our resources because guys keep getting their assholes fucking ripped in half. No more sodomy. It is illegal now." And that's why like he continued on today.
That's the strongest case for universal health care
Right?
I've ever heard.
Honestly, that is a fucking good call on that of like, this is why you need universal health care, because some guys are so dumb, they're going to keep getting that asshole torn, and it's going to exhaust all of your resources. So you need to make it illegal. Yeah.
If you start telling that joke, they're probably more likely to do a federal ban on sodomy than they are to give us universal health care.
Right. Now, that would suck. If your comedy started becoming this thing for like oppression, I'll be like, God damn it. That would suck. I hate when I tell a joke sometimes. So like I used to do this joke about White Claw, and I was like, I love White Claw, and I was like, White Claw power. And one time this guy was like, yeah, and I was like, oh man, he missed the point. He's gonna go out there and like legit cause some trouble, and like that's your Spider-Man responsibility. That's like you, like with great power comes great responsibility. Yeah. Don't say shit, because there's some dumb people out there who are gonna grab their pitchfork and follow you for the wrong reasons.
Do you think a lot about when you're writing jokes, like what's the message behind this joke, or like what am I actually saying? Because like there's definitely like the people who just prioritize like whatever gets the laugh, no matter what it gets, versus like I want to be really careful about like what laughs I'm getting and who's giving them to me.
Yeah, I think once you get to the point where you're getting consistent laughs and you're like, okay, I'm getting laughs every time and I can get laughs if I want to, but now what are the laughs that I want? Yes, I do think that you should think about what you're saying. I think about that all the time, of like when you can say anything that you want, what are you gonna say? When people are here for whatever reason, you gotta assess the moment, right? If it's a dive bar, it's probably just a guy by himself who went there. He probably lives close to here. It's not the biggest inconvenience for him to be here, so my act will be accordingly, right? But if it's like a club and people, they're on a date and they're like trying to have a good time, I feel like what I say now shouldn't be like, aggressive toward. I don't know. I want their experience to be. I don't know. I feel like it's not the same. I'm not gonna say some like elementary type shit where it's like, here's a A, B, C and the 1, 2, 3 and like, yeah, it's a funny joke, but like, come on, guy. I'm like, my son just died. I want to fucking forget that shit.
Yeah.
So you gotta hit him with some like real fucking dark.
Well, there's definitely like those people who have that like philosophy of comedy that's like any reaction is a good reaction. You know, they're like if they are shocked or they're mad, at least they felt something. You know, you see people argue that in the comedy scene.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, for me, it's definitely like there's a big difference between some laughs. You know, like that white claw power joke. You know, and you're like, that was the wrong kind of laugh. That wasn't what I wanted.
And the same thing, if you're the guy who's like, well, I just want to make myself laugh. Yeah, that does count. I think if you are trying to make yourself laugh, that's okay. So what does that mean, though? Like, does that mean you're only doing comedy for yourself and hopefully everybody catches on? Or you're doing comedy for yourself and, like, nobody catches on? And you're like, I don't care. I'm going to keep doing it for myself.
But it's tough because there's people, you know, it's like Andy Kaufman is like the kind of person that was always just doing stuff because he found it funny for him. And that's what he became like, you know, that's his legacy now was like these intricate, like this type of humor that nobody at the time got. Yeah. But he stayed true to his vision, you know, and now that's what, like, people are like, oh, this guy's fucking next level, you know. But at the time, nobody saw it that way, you know. And so, like, that's where I find myself, like, even though I wouldn't approach my comedy the way that some of these other guys do, it's also sometimes hard for me to, like, completely write off that approach because it's like, who knows what's going to be the thing that fucking clicks with your audience or, like, clicks with your personality.
At the end of the day, if it's just about making people laugh and they're laughing, that's what matters. I do think about some comics now who like do some stuff that I'm like, I wouldn't do that for myself. But you're right. I think it is okay. I think it's one needed too to give you that perspective of like, here's the realm of making people laugh. It doesn't necessarily be what you think. You know, the spectrum is so wide. It can be a guy fucking, you know, counting all the, you know, knobs on his abacus. Shout out Robbie Schrader. Which is funny, you know. I saw a thing the other day. It was a guy. He had a whiteboard. Somebody sent me a video. It was a guy with a whiteboard, and he was like he did like an XY graph.
Yeah.
And he was like, here are the jokes that I'm telling, and here's your laughter. And people would laugh, and he would like adjust the thing. And I was like, that's a Robbie Schrader joke.
That's a very Robbie joke.
You know, and again,
or like a Dimitri Martin joke.
Yeah. See, but like, and that's what people were saying about Dimitri Martin. But I feel like Dimitri Martin was visual in a way that was expected, whereas Robbie Schrader is visual in a way that you don't really expect, but it's very visual and it's still, you know, which it goes back to like, if everybody tries it now, you can see the difference of like, holy shit, this shit is like, I didn't even think about that, but that's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, the way Robbie can approach sets is like, I would never think of that, but he really nails it.
No, I think Robbie, if I were to produce a set or a night, he'd be one of the ones that I put on there.
Yeah, shout out to the Descent into Madness show that Mary and Mitch put on that Robbie headlined.
Because he was, that's what I'm saying. Like,
he was great. Like, just seeing him have that amount of time where he could really play around.
Did you see that show?
Yeah, I was filming it, and like, it was killer.
Show?
Yeah, he was so good. Like,
dope, hell yeah.
It was really cool to see Robbie.
I appreciate people recognizing Robbie Schrader's headlining ability, you know? Like, I want to give me some more Robbie Schrader, man.
Yes, the people want Robbie.
If you do want to see Robbie, I know he hosts the Shanghai Room every Sunday. Is he the Sunday guy there?
I think so, yeah.
Femi's the Saturday guy?
That sounds right.
And then Conroy is the Friday guy?
Last I checked. And they get guests and stuff sometimes, but I think for the most part, that sounds about right.
What is your favorite open mic? And I know you don't have to alienate yourself. What is your favorite type of open mic, or what is the like?
It really depends on what part of the process I'm at and like what I'm trying to work on. Like if it's just overall, like I love like the club comedy open mic is just great because like you know there's gonna be a good audience. If you just want to like have a good set, it's a great place to go. But like if I like right now, the comedy bar open mics have been really like they've been my place for trying out new stuff. Like I've really enjoyed those, and the hang's really good. But it really just depends on what I like. The improv mics a lot. Like they really break me into like figuring out new material, like Naked Brunch or Off the Top. Like those, I've gotten a lot of new bits by just talking about stuff there and being like, oh, this might be something. So it really just depends on like what part of the process am I at. Like usually, like a lot of the time, it would be like start with the improv mic, get a concept. Start like working it through it at like a bar mic or like an amateur mic, you know, like Comedy Bar or, you know, Jay's mic in Ballard, something like that. Start working it out. And then like when I feel like it's good, take it into club comedy and see how it works like with a real audience.
Where do you write the most?
just on the go a lot of the time, you know, like just something comes up, take a note. I just bought one of those electric notepads so I can be more organized with my comedy notes, because my problem is I had this notepad on my phone that just had all my like comedy notes mixed in with like grocery lists and like, you know, to-do lists and like work notes, and like it was just a fucking mess. And I'm like, I need something where I can keep my comedy in one place and like really hone in on that. So I'm hoping that's going to help with my process. What about you?
I usually, same. It's usually from when I'm going from one mic to the other. If I'm like driving somewhere, or another time too, it usually happens when I'm around my girlfriend and like we're doing something and I'm like, I'll think of something, I'll say it to her and she's like, dumb. She's like, that's dumb. Or she's like, doesn't laugh and she's like, yeah, I don't get it. And I was like, okay, it's a good joke. Because like, just because she doesn't get it, that to me makes me think that like, it's a good joke that like, I know if somebody just at least gets it, which most people will, it'll be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say that. I like watching TV with my girlfriend or like driving from one mic to another. For some reason, it just... I used to write a lot at... My favorite was... I asked this question because my favorite mic to do used to be Woodskis with Timmy Booth. Because for some reason...
run by Joseph Knight.
Yeah, and
I hear he's doing a bang-up job.
And I'm sure he's doing a great job, but for some reason, that I stopped going because Timmy's not there. And I used to do it, and I used to feel like Timmy somehow inspired good writing out of me every time I was there. Like, every time I was there writing about something, Timmy would have something to follow up on. And he'd be like, yo, did you think about this? Or maybe think about this? Or just like the way me and Timmy would talk then.
Yeah.
Or like some of the comics who would go. I felt like it created a headspace for me to be like, think of a thing. I should check it out. Maybe it'll still be there with Joseph Knight. But
I don't know when this is going to be posted, but Timmy Booth headlining Club Comedy this weekend.
Yeah,
if anyone's watching, go check that shit out.
Check out Timmy Booth.
Timmy Booth headlining is going to be killer. That dude's so funny.
No, I agree. Timmy Booth is hilarious. He's certified too, number 2 in Sick, right? He was the runner-up.
Yep. Officially funny.
No, I agree. He's fucking hilarious. He was just touring somewhere too.
Yeah.
Which is why he had to cancel his mic because he's blowing up.
Good for him, man. He deserves it. He's definitely put the work in. He's just funny as fuck. Yeah.
No, I agree. Timmy's hilarious.
Good to see.
He got me a writing gig too.
Oh yeah. What are you writing?
We wrote this. He wrote an English version. I had to write the Spanish version. A script for a 30-second commercial for like some sort of state campaign about looking out for cyclists, pedestrians, wheels, something. People who are just on wheels in general. Which I haven't got paid for that. I should follow up. Almost
a good gig.
Yeah, like
you get paid.
almost a good gig. But it was a writing credit too, and I was asking too, like,
that's good.
Can I put this as a writing credit?
Yeah.
You know, 'cause that's another thing too. I feel like when it comes to, I did another thing. I got another writing gig because somebody's seen one of my shows. No, first they saw me online, then they seen me in a show, and I think I did a bunch of different stuff. The show that they watched from like the online clip.
Sure.
And they were like, hey, we came to see if you had different stuff than your online clip, and you did. Would you like to write for, so I got this thing to write, and I'm actually writing. I had to edit just what people write. They're doing this play for a community college in Utah. And they're going to send me like their script, and I just have to like go over it and be like, oh yes, this is funny.
Punch it up.
Yeah.
Dude.
Well, and it's just like, and all they want is my, like, as a comedian, like, is this funny?
Yeah.
Like, yes.
That's great, man.
Right,
that sounds like a fun gig.
Dude, all I got to do is review somebody's fucking work and like say if it's funny.
Comedic advisor.
Yeah. It's literally, I feel like.
That's sick.
So I couldn't get a writing credit for that, but,
I want to do some more film stuff. I have a concept. I'm not going to say it on the podcast because it'll take the magic out of it.
Sure.
But I have a concept for a short film that I really want to do with the local comics, and I'm going to pull in some writers once I have a draft, pull in some comics to help like punch it up.
Dude, if you ever need me, I'm down.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'd love to have you on board.
Yeah. I feel like right now, if I'm like, I'm just trying to book every day. Like if I don't have that day booked, I'll do it.
Yeah, how's your summer looking so far? You got
my July,
lots of stuff?
I got everything. I got everything's happening, or I got every week in July is booked.
Hell yeah, dude!
Which is great because I have like actual weekend spots. Maybe like a Thursday one. I count that as a pre-weekend. And then August, I got 2 weekends so far in August. So I'm hoping to get some more because I'm not doing shit in August. And then September, I'm busy with the wedding. I'm gonna do a little bit of traveling. So I don't have any
time to harvest material.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, it's part of the process.
Yeah. I never traveled either, so that's going to be exciting.
Where are you going?
I'm going to Italy.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Italy for my honeymoon.
When are you going to be there?
September 7th through like October 15th or something.
You're just gonna miss my girlfriend. She's gonna be there like right before that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're getting married September 23rd, and literally, I think we're gonna go to the 25th maybe through like October 10th. Should be there then.
That's gonna be sick, man.
Yeah.
My little sister just went over there to Italy and
Yeah.
just can't shut up about it. She fucking
I'm
loves it.
excited. I love pasta, and I just want to go eat some pasta.
I hear the gelato is great.
I need some gelato, and
Yeah, man. Do it up.
I want to gain 1,000 pounds.
But I hear like European food, it doesn't make you fat. You know, it's like you lose weight the more you eat in
Really?
Europe. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, they like use different ingredients and shit.
What did that become my diet? I moved to Italy.
Yeah.
What have you been eating? Nothing but pasta.
Nothing but pasta.
Dude, I had some delicious ass pasta that my girlfriend's mom made yesterday. It was like a pasta salad, but the pasta she used was like these huge spiral things. Have you ever seen those? They look like coils. They look like giant fucking like spark plugs.
Sounds good.
And it was delicious. I was like, this is incredible. Yeah, I wish I knew what kind of pasta that was, but I was like, if I could make pasta, I would make it like this because I feel like the coils make it so like it's very like dense, but it's also a string, so it's not that dense. So it was great. I feel like if you could stuff those with something now we're talking.
Like a ravioli spiral.
Oh yeah, like if you could put the like in the heart of the coil, put like some
avocado heart.
Something, yeah, something delicious in there, an avocado heart.
Real person heart. You know, whatever is good.
Do you think like the seed of the avocado can be delicious somehow?
I'm not a fan of any part of the avocado. If we're being honest, I'm kind of an avocado snob. So yeah, it's not really for me.
Hey, you know what's funny? I'm glad we share that because I don't hate avocado, but I hate when avocado becomes like a focus or like there's too much of it. I'm like, just give me like a quick little thing of it. But avocado became such a huge thing that I'm with you that I'm like, I don't really like it like that.
I have like an impeccable skill for picking avocados though, even though I don't really eat them. Like I pick them up for my girlfriend all the time, and I'm fucking good at that shit.
What do you do? Firmness is one of them, right?
Yeah, it's like mostly the firmness, you know, like more than anything else. I don't really worry too much about the color. It's like all about like just a little bit soft, you know, but not.
It's like when you can squeeze it right before it, like you fucking like cave it in. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like if I can press it a little bit, but I didn't like fucking mush it, it's good avocado.
My girlfriend told my mom that. My mom knows I hate avocados, right? And she thought that she was talking about the dog. She's like, really? He can sniff good avocados? And then she's like, no, Xack. And she's like, oh, really? Way more surprising.
Hates avocado.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of avocado either, man. Yeah. As a Mexican, I feel like that's a controversial take. But it's like, same with lime. I don't like lime. I actually hate lime.
I mean, a little bit of lime is all right. You know, I don't like to go overboard. Yeah. I like some limeade. I'm all right with limeade. I'll drink like a lemonade or a limeade or something like that. But as far as like squeezing some of my taco, I'm like, don't ruin my taco with a lime. That was just lime. It's so overpowering that everything becomes lime. All right, so I got a story that I've always wanted to tell on stage, but I can't figure out how to make the audience not hate me when I tell this story.
Here, before you say it, you want to drink?
Sure.
Is it about you killing puppies?
Intermission. Not quite, but there's something. Whether or not there is animal cruelty involved will be up to you to determine in this story.
So what happened?
So I bring this up partially because it's a Independence Day story. This was on 4th of July many years ago. I was probably like 16 or 17 at the time. And me and my friends were really bored. We didn't have anything to do on this 4th of July. And we're like actively trying to find something to do. And we go outside the grocery store, and there's this family giving away a rooster. And they're like, anyone want a rooster? And we're like, we could take this rooster. This could be our thing to do today. So we like start talking to these people like, yeah, we'll take your rooster. And they're like, do you have a home for it? You know, and we lied and we're like, yeah, we got a home for this rooster. And like it was really just like in the moment it was about like the meme of the thing kind of. It's like, you know, it's funny to have a rooster, you know?
Yeah.
But then like this old woman came up and she's like, I want the rooster and I have a good home for it. And so now we're like in this position where this rooster would actually like go to a good home. But we're in too deep. Like we've already told these people that we have a good home for the rooster and we can't like fess up and be like, actually we were lying. Like we don't.
With her.
Yeah. So So we had to like pretend we still wanted the rooster, but we were like hoping that she would get the rooster.
So it became a competition more.
We did a coin toss. Is what we literally did, a coin toss to figure out if we'd get the rooster, if she'd get the rooster.
Wow.
And we were really hoping that we would lose, so that but we were there first, you know. And we won the coin toss. And so then we got this rooster, and we had no idea what to do with it. And we spent a couple hours pranking our friends with it. You know, we'd go put it on a doorstep of a friend's house and ring the doorbell and go hide, you know, so the rooster was there, yeah. And then at the end of our fun, we're like, what do we do with this rooster? And so we went out into the middle of a redwood grove, and we let the rooster free. We freed it into the wild. We gave the rooster its independence on 4th of July.
I feel like realistically what happened, that rooster probably couldn't live off the forest stuff. Like, it might have found some ants here and there, and it might have eaten some insects, but I think eventually, like a fox caught up to it, or a hawk, or
well, that's
an
the
owl.
Controversial part. Is like, really, it probably got eaten, like, right away.
Yeah, no, honestly, I think, yeah, you guys probably did.
So it's like, did we liberate a rooster? Did we, you know, kill a rooster? I asked this to an audience. The only time I ever tried to say this on stage, I asked, but I didn't even tell the story. I said, let's say it was the 4th of July or something, and you let a rooster off into the wild. Are you liberating it, or are you killing it? And every hand went up for killing it. And, I'm like asking for a friend, and moved on.
Here's the thing. I'm a big gambler. And by big gambler, I mean that, like, I've lived my life with the same principles that I instilled in me with gambling that I do with, like, anything else. My point is, if you're gambling, you always have to assume that, like, let's just say you're playing blackjack. You always have to assume that the deck is stacked against you, right? So, like, if that card that you don't see the dealer have, that's probably a face card, right? So same with this, but until you see it, you don't know that it's there, though. So same with, like, this rooster. You don't know that he got killed. You can't say that for sure. That's a part of gambling that, like, for all you know, he became a warlord fucking rooster, and he's, like, thriving in the fucking redwoods in a, like, giant canopy society.
I will say that I have heard reports of other people seeing roosters in that area in the time since. So I'd like to believe it's still alive.
Yeah, and maybe, yeah, it was breeding, and now there's more roosters there, and you created this weird fucking wild rooster. It sounds like a hot sauce. Wild rooster.
Yeah, man. That could be the future.
Dude.
Wild roosters, unless, like, roaming around the redwoods.
Unless you've seen it dead for yourself, you don't know that you killed that rooster. So that shouldn't be on your conscience.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I'm being honest here, and I'm not trying to be silly. I think you didn't see that rooster get murked. Maybe he's fucking driving for Uber or something, and he's, like, you know, supporting a family.
I hope he's doing well.
I have a similar animal cruelty story. I have two, actually.
Oh, boy.
One of them was, this one, the short one is, I owned a chameleon when I was younger. I had a chameleon. I had no business owning a chameleon. Her name was Camille. May she rest in peace. But as a dumb, like, 9 and 10-year-old, I had this chameleon, and I put it in an aquarium, obviously with no water, but the same kind of tank. And in a fucking hot fucking LA sun, it fucking, like, burned to death. It was very sad.
That's too bad.
I had it for like a day. Literally, I was like, "Oh, here's a brand new tank for you," and then
oh no,
which I didn't know there was a difference. I'm stupid. So that was the first part. I was a kid. The second animal cruelty one that I have, for my senior prank, me and my buddy Steve. Shout out to Steve. He co-hosts this with me now. Oh, that's what I was gonna do today, but he couldn't get off of work. But next time I want to have him just, like, in the room remotely.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
And then just still have guests.
Shout out Steve.
Yeah,
I'll meet you one day.
Yeah, and then my girlfriend has a monitor. We can just put him on the monitor when he is available. But anyways, me and him allegedly for our senior prank, we went down to the good old swap meet that was, like, out in like the suburbs.
Yeah.
In Chino, shout out to Chino swap meet. That they have a bunch of, like, roosters and chickens and rabbits and lizards, all kinds of animals. Wild, like, farm animals, wild animals, whatever. So we bought a bunch of rabbits and a bunch of chickens, and we let them loose in the school because we thought that would be hilarious. We used to do this thing called the senior sunrise, where, like, the seniors would, like, hang out at school at nighttime. but only in the parking lot, which was weird. I guess they couldn't trust us in the building, which is smart on their part.
Probably.
Because we were going to let a bunch of animals loose. And we did. We let a bunch of chickens and a bunch of rabbits loose in the school. And the next day when we got to school, they killed all of the rabbits
Oh, shit.
and the chickens because they were just like loose in the school. We felt terrible about that.
Wow. I had a friend who raised emus. His family raised emus. And so we highly speculated about doing the same thing, like filling the classroom with emus. Yeah. And now I'm glad we didn't, I hear your story.
They killed them all. Literally the next day we showed up and there was just like body bags of these fucking rabbits and chickens.
That's devastating, dude. Wow. Talk about a prank gone wrong.
Yeah, man.
That's fucked up.
Again, see, like, that's on me for sure. I know in the future when I'm running for office, you're going to be like, you murdered a bunch of rabbits because of you. And I'm going to lose the campaign or whatever. But, yeah, that was on me, man.
Past is the past. You know, you got to learn from that lesson.
Oh,
I bet you haven't filled a room with rabbits ever since.
Not since. Not since.
That's a mistake you only make once.
Yeah, but they did kill them. The school should be shut down. That's what they. I was trying to think of a joke today about. I didn't realize how bad. So in middle school, I went to this middle school that was my whole education. I felt like was pretty sus. My elementary school, my 4th grade teacher used to fucking hit us. Mr. Christensen, I'm gonna put him on blast.
Like a ruler on the hand, or
no, like fucking. He picked up my friend Eric Quevedo one time. We used to call him Shorty because he was tiny and he always stayed tiny. So imagine a Shorty in 4th grade. He got picked up in his chair by Mr. Christensen and launched across the room.
Oh, shit.
Mr. Christensen was this tall, like Nordic man. He was huge.
Did he ever get in trouble?
No, because we would. Nobody will believe us. The only time that I think he didn't get fired because he was tenured, and I know this for a fact because then he became the substitute teacher at my middle school. And then when shit happened at the middle school, he became the substitute teacher at my high school. I feel like he was following us to torture us. But anyways,
Mr. Christensen, if you're watching this right now, fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you, Mr. Christensen.
Fuck you.
He would show us like these weird, like, now looking back at it as an adult, I don't think it was porn, but it was definitely inappropriate. He used to show us a bunch of like weird 16th century art of like naked, like Da Vinci painted this woman's asshole. And it was like, yeah, I guess, but why are you showing this to a 4th grader, guy? It's because it's Italian Renaissance art. Like, yeah, I guess you're right. And now looking back on it, like I said, I'm going with that. It was art, but it was kind of very inappropriate. So my middle school, we used to have another teacher, Mr. Jackson. He also he wouldn't hit us, but goddamn did I think he was going to hit us every time. But anyway, so I was bringing this up to say that my middle school was taken over by the state of California when I was in middle school. And I knew things were going to get bad because our milk cartons switched from milk cartons to milk bags.
Oh, no.
And we had milk bags, and they had like a whole team come out for like a week to show us how to open these fucking milk bags.
Dude, there's a joke in there
Yeah,
somewhere.
and I was thinking about that today. I'm like, how do I come up with a joke? I was like, because I remember there was literally like people with like fucking suits and shit who were like working with whatever dairy fucking farm got the rights to this middle school to be like, here's all you fucking, open up.
We can
milk
save
bag.
10 cents per carton if you use these
Yeah,
bags.
I remember there was another racket that they had was I didn't realize that one of the places there was in my neighborhood there was a bunch of like 5 for $10 T-shirts or like a bunch of like weird places or a bunch of like weird random things like uniforms and polo shirts and white shoes and it was because our school we had to wear uniforms in middle school. So once we got taken over by the state, we had to wear uniforms.
What did your uniforms look like?
They were just like you had to wear a polo shirt, and it had to be either blue or burgundy, with blue slacks or maybe black slacks or red slacks. Maroon was another one. Yeah, burgundy.
You looked slick, huh?
You were supposed to, and I didn't realize that one of those stores that sold uniform only wear was owned by the superintendent. He owned a bunch of those schools. A bunch of those stores in my neighborhood that were like selling uniforms only were owned by the superintendent.
Corruption at its finest.
Isn't that weird? That's
wow.
weird. Look it up. That shit was weird.
Oh shit. Man, the scandal is going on at your school.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's how I knew my school was a bad school because I'm like, oh, we're here just to make money for these fucking corrupt ass politics. It was like a prison, but for children. I still was like, how do we make money off of these guys? They have to come anyway.
Wow, man.
My school was severely underfunded. I will say the lack of resources my school had helped me get into college. Because when I applied to schools, I was like, I want to this school. My school had, my senior year was 1,000 incoming freshmen. We had a graduating class of like 200.
Wow.
And I think I remember when I applied for most colleges, my rank was number 7 out of whatever 200.
Damn.
Which is not bad.
That's pretty good for that size of class, man.
But technically, I was counting it 7 out of 1,000 because those motherfuckers were supposed to stay and they didn't. We used to have a child care center. I remember.
My class was real dumb. Our valedictorian had like a 3.8 or something. All of us were like not very bright.
Especially with like AP classes, because you can have like a 5.0 now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, every other class, they were like, the valedictorian's always like 4.2, 4.3. We're like fucking barely holding on.
You know what's sad when the valedictorian has to go to community college? And it happens a lot. You know, I feel like it happens a lot. For whatever reason, one, they're dumb, or the school is dumb. 2, they can't afford like a rural school, or not a rural school, but like a more expensive school. Sorry to people who went to community colleges. I feel like it is a path for sure. If anything, it helps. My girlfriend went to community college, and then she went to a different college.
My school is so tiny. I just went down for my little sister's high school graduation, and they had the 8th grade graduation before hers, and there was only one 8th grader. This kid had an entire ceremony just for them, and cool. They were like the class of their 8th grade, so it was like 27 or 2027 or something, and it's just one person walking down the aisle.
They should still have a ceremony too. It's a special.
They did, yeah. It was. I mean, honestly, what a cool fucking experience! Like, how many people get to be like, I had a whole ceremony just for my graduation, nobody else.
I used to have a joke about it happens every time there's a shooting. I'll do this joke. So it happens often. But I used to have this joke about like going to a kindergarten graduation seems stupid until you realize how difficult it is to graduate from any school these days, because you might get fucking murdered in kindergarten. Or any fucking level. So like, of course,
too real, man.
Right, I know, and that's why I only do it when there's a mass shooting. So I'll do one tomorrow.
Is that one of those jokes that gets the aw instead of the
the groans?
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the groans, but sometimes I feel like it's important to be topical, or not even important to be topical. It's important to be like, I have a unique perspective on this topical thing.
Yeah, that's nice. That's a real good thing. I just recently started doing a joke about. I basically say like I went by a Planned Parenthood. There were a bunch of protesters outside, and I was like, oh, I didn't expect this in Seattle. I got closer, and I realized that all the signs were pro-choice and not pro-life. I'm like, well, that's cool, but it's kind of like if I went outside of a pot shop with a sign, like, legalize it.
Yeah. And you're like, why are you even here?
It's like everyone here agrees with you, you know?
Go to the places that, you know who I really respect? I respect the people who go to different states and, like, canvas for the opponent who is not the favorite there. I'm like, oh, you got balls. You really care about this shit.
I went to Iowa during the 2020 Andrew Yang presidential campaign.
Nice.
It was a
fucking
universal
health care. No, he was universal
basic income. Give us that money, income. Man.
Hell yeah, I'll take that.
It didn't happen. Well, it kind of happened. Pandemic. We got a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Dude. Oh, God. Just give us money, man.
People were crazy out there, though. So before I went out and volunteered out there, I did a video here in Seattle. Like a man on the street interview. Mm-hmm. We asked a bunch of people, like, what would you do with $1,000? How would it help you, right? And we talked to all sorts of people, and, like, all the answers were, like, really fucking good. Like, it was, like, people being like, I'd, buy food, or, like, I'd buy my medication, like, all this, like, really important stuff.
Shit.
And then we went to Iowa, and we tried to make the same video, and these people were so fucking crazy. Like, they were just, like...
What are they going to buy?
Like it just like derailed into other things. There was this one like old woman who just like started ranting about like how she'll never vote for anybody that like we didn't even bring up really politics at that point. She just went into like how she'll never vote for anyone that's like pro-choice and just like started talking about how abortion's evil. We're like, all right, lady, like that wasn't the question, but we hear you. And like there was another guy who just started going off about like the Clintons. We're like, it was nuts, man.
Dude, when you give somebody a microphone, their fucking nonsense comes out.
Yeah.
And there's some people who don't need a microphone, man. All right, brother. Anything you want to plug or anything?
No, this has been a bunch of fun, man. Yeah. I guess YouTubers can look up my channel. Search for Meaning is the name of my podcast.
Dude, hell yeah.
Haven't done one in a while, but I'll probably start it up again.
If you need a guest, I'm down.
Yeah, it'd be fun to do it sometime.
I'm trying not to interrupt people. That's my big thing. Every time I do a podcast, I'm like, don't interrupt, don't interrupt, don't interrupt.
It's so easy to talk over each other. I feel like this has gone pretty well.
I think so, too. I think the levels help. That's one thing I've been looking at. I was like, okay, if mine's going and his isn't, perfect. If yours is going, I'm gonna not do it. But I do gotta go pick up my girlfriend in like 10 minutes.
Cool, man.
You want to wrap this?
Yeah, that's
cool.
been good.
Hey, man, thanks for fucking coming on.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother. Appreciate you.
Till next time.
Till next time. I do want to keep having a recurring guest, so if you want to be that,
Anytime, man. I will come on any day.
dude, hell
Just
yeah.
let me know.
Appreciate you.